The next important topic which we are going to discuss as part of the markets is industrial buying and markets. This is a major segment of apparel marketing, that is industrial and business market. Now, let us examine their characteristics. Typically, a business buyer buys goods and services for use in the production of other products and services. These are then sold, rented or supplied to others. This activity includes reselling, retailing, etc. The fiber and yarn manufacturers and suppliers take the fiber and yarn from the textile mills. The fabric manufacturers in turn supply or markets their products to garment manufacturers. The garment manufacturers market it to buyers. The exporters, retailers and brand owners market it to other retailers who also constitute industrial or B2B selling. Likewise, several other players and accessory manufacturers also market their products to the manufacturers. So, this is called the business markets. Business marketing is the practice of individuals or organizations, including commercial businesses, governments and institutions, facilitating the sale of their products or services to other companies or organization that in turn resell them or use them as components in products or services they offer, or use them to support their operations. So, let us understand the difference between industrial marketing and consumer marketing structure. So, what is the difference between industrial and consumer marketing structure? Let us start with industrial markets. They are geographically concentrated. In India, fabric is mainly manufactured in Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, etc. The garments are manufactured majorly in Bangalore, in and around Delhi, Ludhiana, Chennai, Tirupur, etc. There are relatively few buyers in industrial scenario. The other characteristic is that it is an oligopolistic competition. This means that it is a market condition in which the sellers are so few in number that the actions of any one of them will impact the price and have a measurable impact on competitors as well. Now, when we come to the consumer markets are geographically dispersed. The demand, say for example, of buying apparel is dispersed. The mass markets are characterized by many buyers. There is also sometimes monopolistic competition. Going further with the differences between industrial and consumer products, industrial markets are technologically complex. There can be technologically complex as this includes many activities such as understanding of fibers, yarns, fabric, garment manufacturing, dyeing, printing, technical textiles, etc. There is a customization to user preferences. The service and delivery and availability is critical as it is purchased for other than personal use, that is for exports and retailing. Whereas for consumers, the products are standardized like brands. Whereas the consumer markets, service, delivery and availability are less important because they are generally purchased for personal use. So, when we discuss the buyer behavior in industrial markets, in industrial markets, the buyers are professionally trained personnel. The activities are controlled by various departments like manufacturing, merchandising, fabric knowledge, the quality control, purchase, etc. The functional involvement at many levels and by many departmental heads will decide jointly the decisions, and while deciding the task motives would be predominant. Whereas in consumer market, individuals many times would be purchasing on OTC, that is over the counter product. He will be buying whatever is there on the counter and ready to wear. The product is ready, which are sold by many retail companies. As we have seen in consumer behavior, the family involvement, the influence of social and psychological motives predominate the consumer buying. When it comes to buyer-seller relationship, in industrial markets, technical expertise is an asset. The engineers, merchandisers, experts are hired by companies selling machinery, yarns, fabric, dyes, garments, etc. There is a lot of interpersonal relationship between the buyers and sellers. There is, in terms of information, significant information exchange takes place. And normally a textile or garment company will explain in detail the specifications of fabric or garment machinery. A stable and long-term relationship encourages loyalty. Hence, there is a lot of buyer-seller relationship that is there in the industrial marketing. Whereas in consumer market, there is a less technical expertise. The expensive and good design products are purchased on look and approval from near and dear. And there is non-personal relationship. I go to a store or to a marketer, he sells, I takes and walks out. And there is less exchange of information, particularly on the OTC, over the counter. Since the consumers are already familiar, they take the products which are offered on OTC. And many times products are purchased on simple advertising, and many times apparel garments are bought on impulse. And whatever the relationship is there, small relationship, that is short term and changing. Next comes the channels that are available in industrial markets. In industrial markets, the channels are shorter and more direct. The machinery or fabric or garment manufacturers sell the products directly to the company. Whereas in consumer markets, there is an indirect and multiple linkages are there. Sometimes through wholesale, dealers, distribution, state level, regional level channels are there before the product comes to the consumer. When it comes to the promotion, in the industrial market scenario, the emphasis on direct selling. The sale of packaging material to companies making toiletries or allied products will involve a large amount of personal interface, sometimes running into days. Whereas in consumer markets, emphasis is on advertising. Just by looking at the ad, consumer would buy. Like Lux soap, a consumer might see it and might purchase the product if it is appealing, or if a film star whom he likes is featured in that advertisement. When it comes to pricing of industrial products, the pricing is done on the basis of competitive bidding or the result of complex purchase processes. The purchase or import of machinery may involve complex purchase processes involving many ministries, and the final price would be on various rounds of competitive bidding and various taxes, imports and excise. So many complex way of arriving at the price is there. Whereas in consumer markets, there is a list of predetermined prices. In some developed countries, products can be bought from various sources at different prices, but it is standard for consumers. The major characteristics of business segments are the quantity they buy is huge, the number of buyers are less, hence the price and margins vary. The number of people involved is more and structured, and professionals are involved. Hence, the buying behavior is complex. When we look at even the demand, it is derived. That is, the purchase demand comes from the consumer goods demand, hence varies as per consumer demand and it fluctuates. So, the demand for fabric depends on the demand for garments in the market. The buyers and sellers work more closely right from the idea and product development and build close and long-term relationships. In fact, they develop suppliers and vendors and are treated as part of their internal environment. When we look at the buying situations, the major types of buying situations are straight rebuy, modified rebuy, the new task buying. Now, what is a straight rebuy? In straight rebuy, the buying organizations reorders purchases without any modifications in the specifications or prices. It can thus be said as a routine repurchase. This is because it is based on past satisfactory experience. Presently, with the automated computer systems, ERP and MRP, the system itself auto-generates purchase orders from the vendor list. Then coming to the modified rebuy. In modified rebuy, the buyer modifies the product specifications, prices, terms, or the supplying situation, or even suppliers, so as to adapt to changing needs. In this situation, the intervention comes as there are changes which have to be approved by stakeholders. Even the vendors or suppliers are pressured to adhere to evolving situations and requirements. It is important for the marketing department as they have to carefully evaluate the pros and cons before supplying the modified products. The next is the new task. In new task, the company is altogether buying the product for the first time. Hence, the company feels greater risk, and there is also cost dilemma. So, in this situation, there is typically a lot of deliberations, inspections, enquiries, and decisions are based on information flow. The buyers have to decide on product specification, suppliers, the price limits, payment terms, order quantities, delivery, and service terms. Here, the marketers have to give as much information as possible. They have to give assurances and invite buyers to visit the factories, inspect facilities, and even encourage visits to other companies that are currently using their products or services. Now, let us look at the industrial buying process. Now, when we look at the buying process of industries, it starts with the need or problem recognition and the description. Like any other buying process, even industrial buying starts with need or problem recognition. This involves formally describing the problem in detail along with the solution and its requirements. Here, the user departments along with experts are involved as to how to define and solve problems. They also have to address how needs can be satisfactorily fulfilled. Even outside experts or the marketer can get involved as to how his or his company's expertise product and service can be used to solve the problem or the need. Coming to the second stage, the product or solution. The detailed specification are the next stage. So, the company has to come out with the product or solutions detailed specifications. So, for this, a detailed description, technical specifications of the product or service are to be developed after careful analysis of existing solutions and also new solutions. So, for doing this, there is a product value analysis that has to be done. The product value analysis is a technique that is used to study how the product can be used, redesigned, upgraded, standardized and made less costly, and finally to be more efficient and more effective. There can be trial for internal solutions. So, once these specifications are ready, a trial for internal solutions is done with existing vendors and suppliers. Then the next stage, that is third step in the process, is supplier search and invitations for quotations and proposals. Then a search for new and external supplier search is done. The qualifications for supplier is also arrived at and is done. Once the qualifications of suppliers is made, then the identification of suppliers is done based on the trade directories, today through Google search, based on inquiry from other industrial players is done. If the selection is for a supplier for a new task, complicated task, or even a modified specification, buyers invite qualified suppliers to submit proposals. Particularly if it is for large corporate or government, the organization calls for quotations or proposals through newspaper advertisements or through wide publicity, even making use of the internet. Then the fourth stage is selection of a vendor or supplier. After the proposal, a selection committee consisting of experts selects the supplier on so many considerations like fabric type, design, quality, cost, delivery types, machinery, applications, resupply, standardization, global deliveries, reputation, technical considerations and expertise, unique technology, ethical considerations, whether he is OEM, original equipment manufacturer, service support he can give, whether complete and system support can be given, whether he can offer turnkey solutions. Then the buyers enter into negotiations before finalizing the prices and terms. Government bids will be selected based on lowest quotation on the estimated price. That is, they select the L1, what they call lowest one. Finally, they may select one supplier or multiple suppliers by splitting the order. Many buyers prefer multiple sources of supplies sometimes to avoid being totally dependent on one supplier, and to compare and absorb the price fluctuations and market trends. Hence, a complete vendors list along with products, services, delivery times, prices, terms and ratings are kept so as to source based on requirements. The next step is the order routine specification. Once the selection list is ready, an order is placed. Here, the buyer writes the detailed specifications including technical, order quantities, expected time deadlines, the place of delivery, payment terms, return policy, guarantees, etc. This is called order routine specification. Many large corporations turn to vendor managed inventories, where the responsibility of reorder and supply and on-time deliveries rests on suppliers through linkage of ERP, that is Enterprise Resource Planning System. Here the buyers share sales, production, inventory details with suppliers, and they also monitor continuously. Many retailers like Walmart, JCPenney, Procter & Gamble adopt vendor managed inventories. The last step in the process is performance review. There is a continuous monitoring and feedback required to assess the performance of vendors and suppliers, and the rating keeps changing as per that. Hence, continuous performance evaluation is part of buying process. Depending upon new task or purchase or modified rebuy or straight rebuy, some of the steps may be adopted or skipped. The model can be explained through the diagram. It starts with the need or problem recognition and description of the problem or need. The next step is product or solution detailed specification. The next step is supplier search and quotations and proposals invitation. Next, vendor and supplier selection. The next step is order routine specification, then performance review. This is how the series of steps that are followed in industrial buying. But because of availability of computer and information technology and internet technologies, many companies resort to electronic purchases, that is e-procurement. E-procurement makes procurement process faster and can access worldwide suppliers. New and small suppliers can be found and at very competitive or lower purchasing costs. It's other way around also. Even the business marketers can connect to the customers online, know their requirements, collaborate through ERP and internet technologies, and can provide superior services globally. The companies can do e-procurement in the following ways, which many companies are adopting as part of the behavior. The trading exchanges. These are the exchanges through which companies collectively work to exchange and trade. The second one is company buying sites. The company can establish its own website for buying, or in their regular sites a provision for inviting tenders. Reverse auctions. Here the companies, their purchasing requirements and requests, and invite vendors to give quotes and offer solution. A company gives its requirement and invites the companies to respond. Having understood the industrial buying process, let us understand the players in the buying process. They are classified as users, influencers, buyers, deciders, and gatekeepers. This is similar to the family and various roles played by the family members. Apart from this, sometimes R&D, that is research and development, need or problem identifiers also play a role in what is to be procured and why. Let us discuss one by one the players. The users. These are the members in the organization who have the need or the problem, and who actually use the product or service to solve the problem. They also normally initiate the buying proposal and help in arriving at product specifications. Then the second players are influencers. These are the people or professionals who actually approve and help in deciding the actual specifications, and also provide information on alternatives and solutions. Normally, technical expertise about what is to be procured and how much is required at this stage. Then the crucial players, the buyers. These are the people who have formal authority to advertise and invite tenders and select the vendors or suppliers and arrange terms of purchase. Negotiations with vendors, dispute resolution, price fixation, terms are decided by these people. Normally, a high level officers who are authorized through formal set of process deals with buying. The next players are deciders. These are the people who finally decide based on the sample product or service supplied. Usually, the user people are departments along with very high level officials, including finance department, decide on selection. The next players are gatekeepers. These are the people who control the flow of information, and based on earlier experiences or competitive environment, allow or do not allow certain purchases. They also prevent certain salesmen and companies even meeting decision makers. Some consultants, technical personnels, people in the purchase departments, CEOs, or the purchase department itself might play this role. And even in some companies, the security personnel also play similar roles. So, when we analyze the industrial buying behavior, we could see some similarities, and at the same time the actual roles, functions played by the people in industrial buying behavior is radically different, and it is professional. They are paid to do the job, and it is many times done with pain also, but still that is part of the business. Hence, the student of marketing should clearly understand the role of and the consumer behavior of the individual consumer and the industrial consumer is different, and when they deal with these two markets, they have to be very cautious, understanding the behaviors and parameters and how to be successful. Hence, as part of the market and its understanding, it is vital to understand the consumer and industrial buying behaviors to be successful.